What is up, everybody? This is JP representing jpfitnesspro.com, and today I'm coming at you with another episode of the Exercise Science Podcast. Just to preface this a little bit, I did plan to get this episode of the Exercise Science Podcast out a little earlier this week, but I had some audio issues and I had to switch out mics, and I didn't realize until after. For some reason, my Samson meter mic started messing up. I don't know what happened to it. It's had like excessive static and like background noise, but that's besides the point. I just want to let you guys know I tried to get this out on Monday, but it did kind of take me a little bit to get that issue out the way and end up getting a different mic. So I already had the mic that I'm using now. I'm using a Zoom to record this, and it sounds real good. So hopefully you guys can't tell a difference in quality, and if you do, hopefully it's a good thing. But I just had to let you guys know about that. And into today's episode of the Exercise Science Podcast, and this episode is about adherence. Adherence is your ability to be able to stick to something. If you have high adherence, that means there's a high probability that you're going to stick to something. You're going to keep doing it. You're going to keep following it. And I feel like this is probably one of the most overlooked aspects of a workout and training, a workout program, and like a nutrition plan. Everybody wants to focus on like what's optimal. For example, with training, people want to focus on volume, intensity, frequency, rest periods, tempo, and all that's good. I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter if you're not going to be able to adhere to it. I could write you the perfect program, but if you don't like doing some of the exercises, or there's something getting in the way of you, or the workout's too long, or you're working out too often or something, then it doesn't matter how good the program is. Same thing with nutrition. Everybody wants to do this perfect diet and see the most perfect results, but it doesn't matter if it's perfect if it's not something that you're willing to consistently do. So that's something that you have to keep in mind when it comes to workout programs and nutrition plans, because again, if you can't stick to it, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to go over some things you can do to increase adherence and just talk about adherence in general in this episode. So I want to start off with saying that even though you want to have high adherence when it comes to workout programs and nutrition plans, you have to remember to meet yourself in the middle. And by that I mean is, you can't say, well, I'm only going to adhere to a workout if I only work out one time a week and the workout's only 10 minutes and I don't have to try that hard, and then I want to see the most gains that I can possibly make. You can't do that. You can't sit there and request all these things and then say, well, that's what I'll adhere to, and if I don't get that, then I'm not going to do it. You're kind of jumping to one opposite end of the spectrum. You're jumping to one extreme. The whole point in here is that you don't want either extreme. Yes, if you're one of those people who can be super disciplined and do the most rigorous program that's super optimal and is going to get you the most results, fine. That's you. But not everybody's like that. But also at the same time, you can't be on the other end of the spectrum. You have to meet yourself in the middle. There is going to be some discipline required, and sometimes you probably have to do things that you don't find the most amazingly fun to be able to see the results that you want. But it doesn't mean that everything you do has to be terrible and you hate it. And that also doesn't mean that you have to do stuff that you don't like doing and then that you can't make gains either. So what I'm saying is you have to meet yourself in the middle. But today we're going to talk about how to increase adherence and kind of getting away from that side of the spectrum where, and I feel like, because the reason why I'm talking about it like this is because in the fitness industry you hear people say, well, you got to have a lot of grit, you got to dig deep, you got to be real tough, have a lot of discipline, and eat the same things all the time, and you have to do this, and even when you absolutely don't want to work out that day, you have to do it, which is not the case. You don't have to. If you don't, on some level, enjoy what you're eating and enjoy your workouts, you're not going to stick to it, and I feel like that's one of the biggest problems. So let's jump into training first, and then we're going to go into nutrition. Let's give some examples of like bad adherence and what you can do to fix it. One thing and the most important thing when it comes to adherence in a workout program is that you find at least some of the exercises, and to a certain extent, fun that you're doing. So the exercises that you're doing, you want to find them to be fun. If you go to a workout with your trainer or by yourself or whatever it is, and you hate doing what you're doing, like you don't look forward to it, you dislike it, it's something that you don't enjoy doing, then again, if you don't like the exercises that you're doing, what is the probability that you're going to stick to your workout? And then again, that's what I see a lot of people doing. Like, if you don't like back squats but you like other versions of squats, then don't do back squats. I mean, there are certain caveats, like if you're like a power lifter or something, you can't say, if you want to be a good power lifter, you can't say, I don't want to do back squats, because that's one of the things you're tested on. But if you're not a power lifter and you don't really have a specific exact reason why you have to do back squats, then you don't have to do back squats. Do something else that you find more fun. Because guess what? You can either do back squats and, even though you absolutely hate doing them, and you don't like doing them, you don't look forward to them, and increase the odds that you just completely skip the workout or do them half-assed and injure yourself. Or switch it to something like box squats or goblet squats or front squats or something else that you find more fun. Increase your adherence, increase the likelihood that you're gonna want to go to the gym, that you're gonna focus a lot more, pay attention to what you're doing, and just enjoy life in general a little bit better. So again, you need to have exercises that you find are fun. And I'm not saying that every exercise has to be a blast. There could be an example where, let's just say you like most of your exercises, but one exercise you're not typically like, you don't like it, but you don't hate it. You're just like, it's whatever. I just kind of do it just to get it done because I know it's what I need to do and I want to work on this. That's fine too. I'm not saying, again, I'm not on the other end of the spectrum either. I'm not saying that you have to love everything. There's going to be exercises that everyone should probably do. There's probably going to be a few that you just don't enjoy doing to the extent that you do others. But if you're sitting there and you're saying, I absolutely hate this exercise, I don't like doing it, something about it just annoys me, and it kind of ruins my day because I'm dreading doing it the entire day, then just change it or get rid of it completely. I mean, again, you'd want to increase your adherence to working out. So again, you need to enjoy the exercises that you're doing to some extent. You don't have to like them all the same, but again, you want to find the exercises you're doing fun. Some other examples of this are, for example, like people who like getting a pump in the gym. Scientific research has clearly shown that high repetitions can build the same amount of muscle mass as lower repetitions, like moderately heavy and heavyweight. But the only caveat is that you have to get really close to failure, or you have to actually go to failure. You can't do light weights and not go to failure. But what I'm trying to say is some people, like getting a pump. They like doing high repetitions because of the way it feels. If that's something that you like doing, include that in your workout, and on the other end of the spectrum, if you like lifting heavy, then lift heavy, Again, if that's what you like doing, include some of that in your workout. But like I said at the beginning, is you have to meet yourself in the middle. For someone who likes getting a pump, you can't do, you can, but I wouldn't recommend doing crazy high repetitions for every single set that you're doing. There's many scientific reasons for that and why I wouldn't recommend doing that for every single set that you do. Same thing with lifting heavy. If you lift heavy for every single set that you do, that has its own downsides. Like, for example, let's just go with high repetitions. Like I just said, if you go up really high repetitions, you have to get really close to failure, if not to failure. And training every single set to failure is just not practical. If all you do was light sets, then every set has to be to failure, which tells me you're doing every single set at a 9 or 10 RPE all the time, and you're never not doing that, which isn't good. That's the good thing about moderately heavyweight and like medium repetitions is you don't have to train to failure to make optimal gains. So again, that's why it's good to include both of those. But again, I'm not saying you have to meet yourself in the middle. Don't do all high reps, but definitely include that to increase your adherence. Now with lifting heavy, it's kind of the other end of the spectrum is you don't have to go to failure with heavy, but heavy training is still heavy training. And if you're training heavy all the time, it's automatically going to be at a higher RPE compared to lower repetitions. So even though you don't have to train to failure with heavy weight, you're not starting at a low RPE if it's heavy enough. You're already starting at a higher RPE. So I wouldn't recommend training to heavy all the time because you increase injury risk, increase your chances for overtraining, just things like that. So your joints and your ligaments, your joints, tendons, ligaments need to recover. So if you're sitting there training heavy all the time, it's not gonna, do good for you. But that's not to say that you shouldn't include a good chunk of your work as heavier work or lower repetition work. You can still train some heavier work, but, keep it at a relatively okay RPE. And then you won't have to sit there and, have those consequences of training heavy all the time. So that's an example of increasing adherence, but meeting yourself in the middle. Some other examples of increasing adherence would be including things like drop sets, supersets, or antagonist paired sets, APS sets. And the reason why you do that is, one, just strictly for fun. You're one of those people who likes doing drop sets. Maybe you've seen old school bodybuilders do it and you want to do drop sets. Or you like supersets, you like, that high kind of like metabolic training style. Again, you don't want all your training to be focused on that. There are downsides to that, but if you're someone who likes doing that, then I would definitely recommend doing that. And there's another reason why you do something like that too, and this fits into a lot of your guys' reasons for not working out in the first place, is that you don't have enough time. a lot of you say that is a huge excuse that I hear all the time. And sometimes, like for really long workouts, like hour, 2 hour workouts, that's a valid excuse at that point. You're now getting, I wouldn't even call it an excuse at that point. It's a reason why you're not working out. But why ultimately it is an excuse is you don't have to work out for an hour to 2 hours. You really don't. I could build a good workout that's 10 to 20 minutes, but again, you can't have everything. You have to meet yourself in the middle. So if you're going to be doing something like that short of a workout, it's probably going to need to include, drop sets, supersets, antagonistic paired sets. So it's going to be, you're going to have to include those training modalities for you to be able to make near optimal gains, which is what you're going to want to do. You can't say you want a 10-minute workout and then say you want it to be really easy, because again, you're never going to get anywhere with that. So again, meeting yourself in the middle, yes, you can have your short workout. Go ahead, take it, have it. But it's probably going to be more of like a packed workout, and you're going to be busier during that time. So again, drop sets, supersets, APS sets are ways that you can, shorten your workout time, which is a huge reason for people not working out in the first place. So by, to increase your adherence, don't be in the gym forever. If you're one of those people that says, if my workout's too long, I'm never going to stick to it. I don't want to dread an hour and a half workout every single day because I got work, I got kids, fine, you don't have to, but you need to get rid of that excuse and then find a way, or find a trainer, get a personal trainer and tell them that, you don't want it that long. Or you can, if you're someone who knows how to make your own program, just include those things so you don't have to be in the gym as long. Another way to increase workout adherence for people who like doing this, just an example, is if you're someone who likes bodyweight exercises a little bit more. I know kind of like not recently, but kind of fairly recently, bodyweight training in the last 5 years has been a huge thing. You see all those YouTube channels, bar stars, they just like doing bodyweight training. And let's just say, you want to be strong, but you also want to be strong relative to your body weight. You can include days in your workout program where you strictly focus on bodyweight training, maybe 2 bodyweight training days and then 2 days where you do traditional lifting. So you kind of get a little bit of both, and if you don't really want to get strong, you don't care about them, then just do bodyweight training. Don't feel like you have to fall to like other people's expectations of you and have a good big back squat or have a big bench press. If you're not a power lifter, or if you just don't enjoy bench pressing and that's not you, it doesn't matter. Screw everyone else and what they think about what you should do. Again, personally, I like doing powerlifting type training. I love it. I love following the sport. It's an amazing sport. I love squatting, bench pressing, and deadlifting. But not everyone's like that, And if you want to do body weight type workouts, go right on ahead. If that increases your adherence to keep coming back to the gym, then I wouldn't know why you wouldn't want to do something like that. And then a few more for training is like, for example, doing a certain splits. I'm not a huge advocate on doing single day, like old school bodybuilding type splits, like, where you have a chest day, a shoulder day, a leg day, an arm day, and a back day. Basically like that. You have one body part per day. I'm not a huge fan of that. The reason being is that, again, the scientific literature is pretty direct and straightforward on this, is that when you're doing one, you're kind of leaving gains on the table when you do one body part per one day. You train it one day, you don't train it for an entire another week. You're not recovering and building that entire week. You're only recovering and building for, 36 to 48 hours, somewhere around that time range. So again, you're kind of leaving lots of gains on the table. And then because you don't do exercises as often, especially for people who are just starting out, the lower frequency of exposure to those exercises means it takes you longer to learn those motor patterns. Again, for strength athletes, someone who's trying to get strong, power lifters, when you have high exposure to a specific exercise, you get better at it faster. So if someone's not good at squats and you only do squats once a week, but you want to get better, it's basically, came down to doing it 2 to 3, doing a muscle group, working a muscle group 2 to 3 times per week has consistently been shown to be better for strength and hypertrophy over just doing it one time. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're someone who acknowledges that and says, I understand that, but I don't like doing that, I like doing the old school bodybuilding type routine because of, I look up to the old school bodybuilders. I followed them when I was younger. I still follow them now, and I like that type of training. Then it doesn't matter what is optimal. It doesn't matter at all. Because, again, if you don't like doing that, you don't like doing that. If that's not going to keep you coming back to the gym, then it doesn't matter. Just acknowledging and understanding what's optimal, and, not kind of tricking yourself and just saying, well, I know that, but I like doing what I'm doing right now. Then again, it doesn't matter in the face of science if you don't like doing it. Because, again, our whole goal here is to increase adherence for people who don't work out, who don't like working out, who find a struggle to keep consistency. And the last one is modifying exercises. For example, is when I was in the Marine Corps, I had a knee injury. I tore my ACL, tore my meniscus on both sides. I think I injured my MCL, and then I also had a small fracture at the top of my tibia. Yes, I know I completely jacked my knee up. I had surgery on it. I caused it by falling off an obstacle course. But my point is that like I have a bad knee, and I'm not gonna sit there and say I don't want to squat ever at all, never, because that's not really meeting myself. That's not meeting in the middle. But at the same time, to meet myself in the middle for a while, I'm doing back squats now. But for a while, I didn't like doing back squats because they just felt awkward. They felt uncomfortable. I couldn't really get low in the back squat, so I just said, well, I'm gonna switch to box squats for now until I find a good mobility routine, and that's gonna help me, get warmed up better and be able to hit my leg days a little bit better. And that's what I did. And I did box squats for a couple months until I found a really good mobility routine. I tried it out. I bought some heel raise shoes, just kind of work things out. And I know some of you may say, well, heel raise shoes make your knees go forward, and it's probably, they didn't cause pain, it didn't make my knees travel that much more forward. But again, it helped me get a little bit deeper in the squat is what it did, and which was the problem with the back squat. It just felt awkward. But combined with that good mobility routine that I came up with for my dynamic warm-up for my squat days, it helped a ton. And that's when I started introducing back squats into my program again, and kind of shied away from box squats at that time. But what I'm trying to say is that if you need to modify exercises to make them more comfortable for you, then go ahead and do that. If you're someone who gets shoulder pain on going all the way down on a bench press, don't go all the way down on a bench press. If you're someone who needs to change, if sumo deadlift style feels better to you than conventional, because the conventional hurts your low back because of the more of the inclined torso versus sumo style, then go right on ahead, do sumo style. Again, you might need to modify exercises to increase your adherence. You don't have to do everything everyone else is doing, especially if you hate doing it. If that's what's keeping you from going to the gym, just change it or get rid of it. Now we'll go on to some nutrition, because nutrition is a huge one too when it comes to increasing workout adherence. Let me give you some examples. And again, nutrition is a really big one. A lot of people have problems with this. For example, if you're on a caloric deficit, you're cutting, and some people like me like feeling full. I don't like cuts. I like eating. I like feeling full. I've always been that way. I'm someone who can eat a lot and all the time if I let myself. I don't like avoiding eating that much at all. I like eating. I can eat right before the gym. I can eat right after the gym. I can eat before I go to sleep, when I wake up, whenever. So on cuts, I really don't like it. But what I do to increase adherence on cuts is I find lists of high satiety foods. Because when I have foods that are very satiating and I'm eating those foods, then it increases my adherence to stay on the cut. Because, for example, a kilogram of watermelon is about 300 calories. Maybe a little bit more, but it's around 300 calories. If you eat a kilogram of watermelon, you're doing a lot of things. One, you're getting a lot of servings of fruits right there. Watermelon is really good for you. Two, you're feeling full after only 300 calories. Again, so 300 calories is not that many, and if you're feeling really full off of that, you're going to be able to increase your adherence on the cut. So that's something that I like doing. So if you're someone who doesn't like cuts, look up a list of high satiety foods that have a high feeling of fullness per calorie compared to other foods. Then include those in your cuts, and trust me, you'll feel almost like you're not even on a cut, but you will be actually cutting. Some other things are cheat meals. If you're someone who likes cheat meals, don't be afraid to include the cheat meals. Again, if you're on a cut and your goal is to be in a caloric deficit, as long as you're in a net caloric deficit for that week, you're fine, So if you can somehow factor in a cheat meal once a week and still be in a net caloric deficit for that week, then why not do that? If that's going to increase your adherence, then I would definitely include that, and I would never tell anyone to not have cheat meals, So again, if that's something that works for you, then definitely do it. For me, example, I'm not a big on cheat meals. I don't really feel like I need cheat meals. The healthy foods that I eat are foods that I like. Which brings me into my next point is finding healthy foods that you enjoy eating. A lot of people have this misconception that healthy foods have to taste bad. If you're gonna start eating healthy, if you're gonna start eating better, you want to make better gains, not eat food that's terrible for you, then you have to eat food that tastes terrible, which is not true at all. What I recommend is taking, an hour or 2 hours, one time a week. You only have to do it one time. You could probably update your list here and there, but make a list of foods that you enjoy eating that are healthy, and write down foods maybe that you don't enjoy and just try to avoid those as much as possible so you don't feel like you're eating food that tastes bad. For me, I don't like raw onions. I hate raw onions. I can't eat them. I never will be able to eat them. I think they taste terrible. But then again, I don't eat them. Even I don't care how much health benefits you get from them. I will never include them in foods that I eat, regardless of how healthy they are. So, but there are other foods that I like that are healthy. I like eating asparagus. It tastes great. I like eating watermelon, bananas. Taste great. Cooked broccoli, spinach. Those taste great to me. Don't like onions. Don't like olives. Stuff like that I can tell you that I don't like, and I don't care what someone tries to say. Well, no, I don't like it. You don't have to. Healthy food does not have to be nasty, and if you're eating nasty food, that's gonna really take a hit on your adherence, and you're gonna not want to stick to that healthy eating. Trust me. If you eating food that you hate, you're gonna want to just say F it one day and just eat whatever you want. So I would definitely recommend taking some time and building a list of food that you like, and you won't have a problem with adherence as much if you do that. A couple more things for nutrition. For example, and this is a good one, is inclusive dieting. And Eric Helms recommends this in his nutrition pyramid book. Inclusive dieting is just focusing on including healthy foods in your diet and not so much as demonizing foods that are bad. So for an example, if you have a caloric goal that you need to meet, within that caloric goal, stay within that caloric goal. Don't eat, excessive calories. But as long as you're staying within that caloric goal, focus on including healthy foods. Okay, did I get a lot of fruits? Did I get a lot of vegetables? Did I get a lot of adequate amounts of protein and fiber? If your answers to those questions are yes, 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 and yes, and you got some calories left, then why not? It's okay to have a cookie or a little bit of ice cream or have a couple fries, as long as you're hitting your calories and you already included those healthy foods that are high in fiber, high in micronutrient content, and things like that, antioxidants. So yeah, things like that. So think of diet more as inclusive dieting, and if you do that, that might work for you. Some people like being more strict, but that's the whole point of this. You need to do things that fit you and help increase your adherence. So if you don't like getting rid of all your bad foods, then don't get rid of all your bad foods. Just focus more on getting healthy foods in your diet, and then if you have a little bit of extra calories left over, have that donut or whatever it is that you want to eat, as long as you're hitting your calories, you're getting adequate amounts of protein, and you got those healthy foods in there. A last tip I'm going to go over for nutrition is, it's kind of like cheat meals in a way, well, not really, is refeeds. If you're someone who's on a cut and let's just say you're starting a little bit too heavy, or you're just starting out dieting and you're on a cut for forever, or you've been unhealthy for forever, for a while, and then you're going to have to start a long cut because you got a lot of weight to lose. What I would recommend is including refeed periods. And by that is like, not in the typical way that people try to say refeed and eat whatever you want for a day. That's not what I mean. I might even be using the wrong terminology, but I'll explain it right now. So what I mean is, if you plan to cut for 12 weeks, or like 16 weeks because you got a lot of weight to lose, or let's just say you plan to cut for a long time because you have 100 pounds to lose or something. Let's just say every third or fourth week, every fourth week, include a week where instead of your cut calories or your caloric deficit calories, let's just say your caloric deficit calories is 1900 calories. Let's just say you're eating that on the cut every single day until you lose the weight that you want to lose, or whatever the number is. And you could say X number. For every fourth week of your cut, increase your calories back up to maintenance. So just increase your calories up to maintenance and don't do the cut for that week. Don't eat excessive. I'm not saying eat excessive, but just go up to maintenance. So let's just say your maintenance is 2400 calories and you're cutting at 2000. We'll just say that, not 1900. We'll say 2000. So for 3 weeks in a row, eat 2000 every single day. So you're cutting 400 or 500 calories. And then for your fourth week, eat I think it said 2500. We'll just say 2500 is your maintenance. 2500 is maintenance. So for that fourth week, eat 2500 calories each day. Then after that fourth week, that'll increase your adherence because you're like, okay, that week was nice. I didn't feel hungry. I got in a few extra 100 calories. Let's get back on it and keep losing this weight. This is good because this is going to increase your adherence for the next 3 weeks. You're going to feel like you want to get right back on it. You're not going to feel burnt out from cutting all the time. And also, a lot of science and research has shown that doing these periods where you go up to maintenance really doesn't hinder weight loss. You'd think that, it's going to ruin my progress that I made so far. No, it doesn't really ruin your progress. There's a lot of reasons why, because it takes, you could say like for the thermogenic effect of food plays a part in that. And then you could say NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, plays a fact into that. But the reason being is that you still lose weight your net balance of weight loss is still negative. You lost weight. Or is that positive? But you lost weight regardless over like a 16-week period if you include like every third or fourth week as a maintenance week. Again, if you're okay with staying in a cut that entire time, that's fine. But if you're someone who just doesn't like cuts, you might need to include a week like that every fourth week so you don't get burnt out and trying to do this cut throughout the entire 16 weeks or however long it takes you to lose that weight. So to wrap it all up, what I'm trying to say is adherence is the utmost important factor when it comes to a workout or exercise program, on a workout program or a nutrition program. And again, you might be the person who could do all the optimal stuff. I'm not saying you have to do suboptimal things. If you're okay with, doing the exact exercises you want to do because you want to get stronger and you like doing that, no, you're not going to get rid of back squats because you like getting back. You want to get stronger in a back squat. You're going to do the optimal nutrition plan because you want to see the best results. You do everything super disciplined. You never cheat. You don't have cheat meals. You don't drink beer. You don't do nothing wrong. You do everything perfect. You never miss workouts. That's fine. If you can do that, cool. All the power to you. I'm glad you can, and I hope you see the most results you can. But that's not everybody. And again, that's actually not most people. So just you need to make these nutrition plans work for you. You need to make these workout programs work for you, and don't be afraid to meet yourself in the middle. Everything doesn't have to be perfect, hardcore, and you don't have to destroy your body in the gym every single time you go. Just meet yourself in the middle. As long as you're doing what you need to do the majority of the time, if you're trying to end a cut, if you're not eating junk food all the time, if you're doing good the majority of the time, for your workout programs, if you're doing good the majority of the time, and you're sticking to it, you're sticking to your plan, you're not missing that many days, you're doing most of your days, you're not slacking off all the time, you're going to be fine, you're going to reach your goals, and you need to not make things so hard on you sometimes, because it's not all about discipline. Yes, discipline does play a part, and if the more disciplined you are, the better you'll do, and hopefully you can work your way up to that. But again, sometimes it's either I'm going to change this or I'm not going to do it at all, and if it comes down to that, just change it, modify it, remove it, do whatever you need to do to increase adherence. If you guys have any questions, comments, please post them down below. Sorry I couldn't get this episode of the Exercise Science Podcast out to you guys earlier. But again, sometimes we have technical issues like that. But I will see you guys in the next episode.